Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm AndyRC and today I'm going to be doing an unboxing of the Flywoo LR4. This is the 4-inch long-range model that's got a lot of hype around it at the moment, and the reason I'm going to do an unboxing video is because I've got a lot of thoughts and sort of concerns before flying the model, so I thought if I did an unboxing video it wouldn't make the review video too long. These are questions that I ask myself when I review any model, and then I can answer them when it comes to the review. So really looking forward to this one with all the hype that it's got. I'm also going to be unboxing Flywoo's own naked GoPro Hero 7 that they sell completely built, so they've already decased it and put it together. You can get it on pre-order at the moment, and there's going to be very limited quantities, so if you're interested then definitely check that out. They've also sent me a 1300 milliamp 4S to get a long flight time, so let's get and take a look at some of this stuff. Okay, let's take a look at the box that the quadcopter comes in itself. It's listed as a freestyle racing drone. You've got HD, bind and fly, PNP, but they do actually make an analog version as well, which might be worth getting if weight is a problem, because you can easily get the analog one under 250 grams, but the Vista one I think is going to be more difficult to get the weight down if you want those long range and long flight times out of it. The analog version comes with a 450 milliwatt VTX, which is okay. I wouldn't call that long range power. I mean, you could get a fair distance line of sight with that, I suppose. But anyways, let's open the box. Just looking at it, does seem to have been opened and shut again. This did come sealed though, so maybe they just forgot something, I don't know, but yeah, it was all sealed here. And what does it say on here? It just says the Explorer Vista BNF PMP version 4S. It's got the motors and everything. Okay, let's just see what's inside it. So straight away, these look like a spare pair of struts for the arms, because obviously the arms are going to be pretty thin. These are the props here. They are the Hurricane 4024s, 1.5 millimeter. I've got some spares in here, standoffs and screws and things. Flywoo sticker. TPU mount. I think this is for the Crossfire version, but I don't have that version. Some more props, different colour. That's a nice touch. Spare props are always good, especially when you're pushing the range. We have got what looks like a 1.5 millimeter Allen key, and these look like some LEDs. Yeah, ARM LED it says there. Interesting, so you have to solder those up, I suppose, if you want to use those. We have got antenna straw for maybe the FR Sky version, or I guess as well the Crossfire version. That's a spare arm, which is interesting. We'll talk about that in a bit. TPU part, so there is the naked GoPro Hero 7 TPU part, and that's the Insta360 Go TPU part. What I thought was interesting, people using an Insta360 Go with this guy, is you can only get 5 minutes of recording, but they are talking about a 10 to 18 minute flight time with this, depending on the battery. So Insta360 Go, not that great. Maybe that's why they've come up with this GoPro version. Okay, let's take out these bags and have a look at the quad just very quickly. This is just an unboxing here. Right, there we go. So yeah, it looks very neat. We've got the dead cat style here, and this is why I think they give us a spare arm. You see, when you have like a true X or a stretched X, when you crash, you usually crash on the end here of the arms, and what that does is it sends the shockwave down there and it doesn't break the arm. But here, when you crash, it's usually into something there and it can very easily knock the arms backwards, so maybe two spare arms might be good there. Let's take a look at the motor status. So it's a 14 0.04 stator, and the kV is 2750. So that's actually quite a low kV for the size of motor. So is it going to have that performance to do freestyle? And secondly, is the tune going to be good enough? Because this is a dead cat configuration, and Betaflight is notoriously difficult, or more difficult to tune a dead cat configuration than it is a true X or a stretched X. And it's something to do with the fact that the back two motors are closer than the front two, and it means that some of the motors have to work harder to maintain the same amount of thrust than the others. So it's another concern of mine. Are we actually going to be able to fly it like a freestyle model, or isn't there going to be enough performance, and is the battery going to suffer anyways if we do so? And I mention the Mavic not to annoy everybody, because I know it will. This is not the same type of model as a DJI Mavic, but we've got a GPS module on the back there, hooked up to Betaflight GPS and GPS Rescue, but I don't want beginners to be given the impression that they can rely on this whatsoever. In fact, I would say that setting up GPS Rescue in Betaflight and making sure it all works can cause you to lose your model in the process. And there are a lot of experienced users having this as just a last-ditch attempt if nothing else works. But if you have something like a Mavic Air, it's got all of the sensors on there. At the press of a button, return to home just works. You do the calibration and that. Not the case with this. I daren't fly away and then turn my transmitter off, hoping that it comes back and lands fine, because it might not. If it goes off in the other direction, then it's gone forever. They do have one of these beepers underneath there, because I think Flywoo recognize that that will likely happen. So this is a beeper that's got its own battery, and if the battery becomes disconnected in a crash, then this will initiate, and I think after about 30 seconds, something like that, it will beep every 5 seconds for about 5 hours. But if this has gone off somewhere, or it's in a tree and you can't hear the beep, then it's no good. So just, I think, a warning about these GPS units on quadcopters like this. I think they're in very early stages, and until it can do things like DJI can, where there's no setup, you can just flick a switch, it'll go into a hover, it will just come back home, then I don't think we should be pushing for these. I would much rather have the quad drop out of the sky where it lost the signal, then at least I know the general sort of area it's gone down, and then we can rely on the beeper underneath to find it. Another thing I want to talk about are the dual props. So I should state at this point, Flywoo have worked in conjunction with a chap that was designing this sort of thing. His name is Dave CFPV. And the idea was to have a 7-inch model shrunk down to a 4-inch, have it nice and quiet so that you can do long range without bothering anybody. And this is definitely the way to do it. But the dual blades will give you that efficiency. They also create low frequency vibrations compared to a tri-blade, and low frequency vibrations cause the most amount when it comes to JALO in the camera and vibrations to the flight controller. So going back to that sort of long range versus the amount of joy you can get out of it, how will it actually fly? Can you do freestyle with it? Because they're calling it a freestyle drone, but when you are flying long range, you're really careful on the throttle usually and not focusing so much on freestyle. So again, I'm gonna look at that and whether we get any JALO through this HD camera here, because that's going to be important as well. But just looking here, it looks like they have mounted it correctly. So it's not in TPU. The TPU at the front is just for protection. So I think we are all good there. So if weight is a problem for you, this guy weighs 164 grams, I think it is, with the props on. And if you use a 650 milliamp 4S battery, I think you can get it at 244 grams. This is the Vista version. But if you go any bigger, like say using 850 milliamp 4S, then you are looking at around about 265 grams, and probably even a little bit more with this special battery here. So it's a 1300 milliamp 4S, like what we used to fly our 5-inch models on, but it's got an XT30 connector because that's what this uses here. So apparently you can get, you know, anywhere between 10 and 18 minutes with this battery, but will I be bored halfway through? That's what I'm trying to get at. So in order to get it ready for flight, this antenna here, it just pops in there, and this makes it really long for long range. Of course, with the Vista can go all the way up to 1.2 watts, whereas the Analogue, as I said, is 450 milliwatts. So if you wanted to truly go long range, unless you don't have the DJI goggles, you really want to get the HD Vista version. We get the props nicely out of shot with that as well, so you could use the HD recording from your goggles if you don't want to get the GoPro or the Insta360 Go on the top with stabilization. So this is the pre-built naked GoPro camera. They're calling it a customized naked camera, GP7 for Explorer LR. So this is specifically for the long range model, and it's 2 to 4S. Would have been nice if it went up to 6S, because you could take this camera and put it on a 5-inch and make it much lighter and get better performance out of your 5-inch model. Now, because it's a Hero 7 and not a Hero 6, you are going to be using Hypersmooth, I imagine, rather than Real Steady Go for the stabilization, because GoPro 7s don't work very well unless the TPU mount in the kit actually does the trick and will work with Real Steady Go. But I actually think this is a smart move, because I don't think they make the Hero 6 anymore. I know for a fact that people are struggling to find them. That's why other companies who were doing these all-in-one cameras, they don't do it with the Hero 6 anymore. They're just selling the Becks and things like that. So this does away with the battery and connects straight to your quadcopter's battery. That's where some of the weight goes down. But I think we might be using Hypersmooth here, which is fine, because that's what I like. Anyways, let's take a look what is inside here and see what you get. We've got some wipes here, Flywoo sticker, and then this is a connector. It's like a special connector. This, oh, it's the back of a GoPro. This little bit scuffed, but I suppose that's fine. So this is going to be for changing your settings. This is going to plug into the camera and we can change all the settings. That is good, because I think there were some builds where you sort of have to set everything up first and then you are stuck with that. Doesn't look like we are with this one, so that's pretty cool. And look at that, I thought I was going to have to build it. It's the first time I'm opening it. Like I say, this was sealed again and it's all ready to go. Oh, it's even got the TPU mount on it already, so I guess I just have to plug it in there, and then that is going to be the power to the camera. That is pretty smart. I absolutely cannot wait to get this going. As for what I think about these naked GoPros, when it was just the Hero 6, I said I think this is going to be a fad, and it still could be, because, you know, we've got the 9 on the horizon here, and essentially what you are doing is you're taking an expensive multi-purpose GoPro camera and making it single purpose for a quadcopter. So it's not like you can put it back together. You could sell it to another quadcopter enthusiast for sure, but how relevant is it going to stay? That is my worry when buying into these things. But if you do want to buy one pre-built and not have to go through all of the aggro of taking it apart, then Flywoo has done it here. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what it's like. I think it weighs 25 grams as well, so again, you know, if you're trying to get under that 250 gram weight, that might not be the way to go. By the way, I just want to say, because I get this every video, people say, why do you keep mentioning 250 grams in the UK? Well, the answer to that is the world is bigger than your backyard. And even if the 250 gram thing isn't specific to you or your situation, guess what? The world is quite big, and other countries have different rules when it comes to 250 grams. So I am not just speaking to you, even though it may seem like it. But anyways, that is my unboxing of this stuff. I cannot wait to get this set up and try it in the field, especially as I've got some space now. I just want to make sure that I can get it back before I do the full review of it. Anyways, I'll put links in the video description to all of this, and it might be worth pre-ordering this thing, because apparently they aren't going to do that many of them. I'm sure this takes a lot of time to put one together. So yeah, links in the video description and a pinned comment. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.